I know, same clothes as yesterday. I literally just woke up. I am still drinking my coffee. My eyes are still puffy, well, puffier than usual underneath, because I just got up. My allergy pill hasn't even kicked in yet, because I just took it, because I literally just got up like 5 minutes ago, but I figured, what the hell, I think I'm finally gonna make a video about this, because every year I think about it, and then I chicken out for some reason or another, and don't do it. But I think I will do it this year. Some of you guys were probably, you're so young that you may not have even been born yet that date in history. Others of you may have been so little that you don't really remember it at all. Like my youngest sister, she has almost no recollection of it because she was like 3. But where were you when 9/11 hit? Like, let's have a discussion on this, because for some reason I find it fascinating seeing just what everybody was doing in their normal everyday lives, and then this happened that changed everything forever after that. And where you were when you heard about it and how it affected you. Like, I'm not trying to make this a me thing, but no, it just is more of a, I'm fascinated to hear about how it affected individual people across the board all around the world. So even if you're not in America, you are absolutely still allowed to reply to this. So I was, oh gosh, how old was I? I was 16 when that day happened. 2001, yeah, that'd be 16, I believe. Unless I'm doing math wrong. Born in 85. Hold on, I'm gonna do the math real quick. 2000 would have been... I'm really bad at math. Yeah, okay, 16. So, anyway, let me tilt this down a tiny bit so I can sit flat. Alright, so, and I'm going to premise this by pointing out that I had a very, very sheltered life up to that point, both in terms of just my life and in terms of sheltered in my own little bubble away from bad shit happening in the world. I was so oblivious to the fact that anything like this could even happen or had ever happened anywhere. I just was unaware that that was a thing. And which I realize is ironic that I say I was so sheltered, and yet when you look at my childhood, it was probably anything but sheltered on some levels, but then on others, I was practically wrapped in bubble wrap, so it's a weird thing. But anyway, so yeah, that morning I got up, and I believe by this point, the first tower had already been hit, and I was getting ready for school like any other day. I generally didn't, and still don't, admittedly, watch the news. It depresses me too much. Which, yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna get shit for that in the comments, that you need to know what's going on in the world, but for somebody with severe anxiety disorders, some of us legit can't handle that. So, anyway, so I went and got ready for school, and I came out in the front room, and the news was on because my dad watches the news, and I didn't even register that what was on was the news. As they were showing the plane in the first tower, and I don't know what I must have assumed it was, but it just didn't register that this was a thing that happened at all. Like, this did not feel like real life, and admittedly, I didn't even give it a second thought because I was so convinced this must be like a movie or something, or I don't know what I thought it was, but it did not feel like real life, and I think my dad was trying to explain it, but it was just so far over my head because, like I said, I was so sheltered that I did not know shit like that could actually happen in real life. But yeah, so got the rest of the way ready for school, got to school, And things were very different right off the bat. Everybody was super nervous and way quiet. I've never seen anything like it in my life before or since. And I'm getting goosebumps, honest to God, just remembering this. Because I have never ever seen anything like that before, especially in a high school. For everybody to basically be so hushed upon getting to school, that does not happen. Especially at that school. It's usually so loud that generally I had headphones on, and even though they were loud, it was still quieter than everything that was going on around me, so it was some sort of a damper for me. But that day, for some reason, I didn't have them on. It was just like, okay, what's going on? And I got to my first period classroom, which was math, and the teacher had the TV on and the news on. And by this point, I believe the second tower had been hit. And she was trying to quietly, but in a way to not completely alarm us, but wanted us to know what was happening in the world, tried to, as gently as possible, break to us what had happened at the World Trade Center. And people lost their fucking shit. Like, in the worst way possible. And somewhere in the middle of the class period, over the PA system, the principal got on and tried to explain this to us and was trying to basically, essentially, talk down to us in a way to where we wouldn't all mass panic or something, which, yeah, good luck with that. But yeah, so they, by that point, were throwing around the T word, which, again, I was so sheltered. I had never heard the word terrorism in my life. I didn't know what that meant. And this whole thing, I was just kind of sitting there with my jaw dropped once it all sank in of what happened. I was just like, oh my god. Are they gonna do more things? Are they gonna come after other places? Are they gonna hit us? Because, I mean, when you're a teenager, everything always comes back to you, but never mind that we live in a dinky-ass little town. Why the fuck would they hit here? So, that would be really stupid. There's literally nothing here worth hitting, but, yeah, I did not get that. My anxiety sure as shit did not get that part, but, yeah, so the teacher was trying to answer people's questions and try to keep people as calm as possible given the scenario. And it just seemed to be backfiring really badly, since it seemed like the more she answered, the more people freaked. And, oh my god, I did not know what to make of this. Yeah, I just could only basically panic, even though it was the entire country away from us. I just remember being panicked. I did not know these things happened in the world, and here it was, happening. So I get to my second period class, and by this point, in the hallways, now panic had set in, and you could overhear basically any conversation you would hear a snippet of. It was all about this. Which, again, getting goosebumps remembering that, because how often is something so big to where that is literally the only thing you hear high schoolers talking about? That does not happen. So I get to my second period class, which was my web design class, which normally, under normal circumstances, was basically my favorite thing in the world, because I knew more than the teacher in that class from day one walking in there and was essentially teaching the class. But I think by the time I got my butt in the seat, full panic attack mode had kicked in, and I just could not deal. Like, I have severe anxiety disorders, but especially panic attacks, which in my teen years, they were at their absolute worst. That was when I had to be on medication for them, was at that point, because they were so bad I couldn't cope and was having literally over 10 of them a day just on a normal run-of-the-mill day. So then you throw something like this at me, and you expect me to not have panic attacks? Yeah, fucking right. But that teacher had apparently, since she didn't have a first period class, had gone out and stocked up on a shit ton of Dunkin' Donuts and brought them back so she'd have a box for each of her class periods as some sort of, like, comfort food offering, which I thought was awfully sweet of her. I had also never even had a Dunkin' Donuts before that day, and wow, that was probably the only good thing to come out of that day, was realizing that Dunkin' Donuts are the shit. But anyway, yeah, so I think I had only made it about 10 minutes into that class period, and she had the news on too. This was just the thing that whole day. Each teacher had the news on and was trying to keep us up to date with what all was happening. I'm not crying, I just have allergies, sorry, but, and I am totally gross, I know. But anyway, I think I made about 10 minutes tops. Full-fledged panic attack, crying and curled up in a ball on my desk because I just was in such a state of I can't deal. So obviously that merited a trip to the counselor's office. Always. But yeah, so... And he was trying to get to the bottom of, why are you having a panic attack today? Is this one of the ones that just cropped up, or are you panic attacking over the attacks? Which, yes, it was the latter this time. Usually they just kind of came out of the blue and hit because brain chemistry. But, yeah, that was the thing with me when I had the worst of the panic attacks, is that they usually didn't actually have a cause in something happening. They just would go off because my brain chemistry was so fucked. But yeah, so anyway, I tried to talk to him for a while, and somewhere in there, I think he made a huge mistake in mentioning that the entire East Coast is essentially in danger right now. Like, oh my god, why would you tell that to somebody who is already panic attacking like a mofo? Why would you tell them that? Little did he know that I was online dating at that point somebody on the East Coast. Luckily not in New York, but in Pennsylvania. Close enough. I actually still talk to this person to this day. Not in that manner anymore. We're just friends now, but all I could think about was this person, and was so freaked on, oh my god, what if they're not okay? What if they went to the city today? What if they were there? Da 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 da. On and on and on. My anxiety would not shut the fuck up. So he actually let me use his computer, which was very against the rules, but he bent the rules on this one for me so that I could get into my email, send this person an email, and just let me wait for a reply that they were okay. And thank God they didn't have school this day because of the whole thing, and were able to reply, like, right away. So, alright, I was able to calm my mind the fuck down that, alright, she's not dead, so that's good. At least that's one less thing to be freaking the fuck out over. So, I eventually, I think he got me some tea, I calmed down, because yeah, even as a teenager, I was that pretentious little shit who, even in the counselor's office, would be asking for tea, but, not much has changed, really, just saying. But yeah, so, I went back to class. At this point, that class period was over, which kinda sucks, since that was, like, the only class I think I even enjoyed that semester. What was third period? I don't remember anything standing out about third period, really. But by maybe third period was gym. That could be why I've just blocked that shit out. So, but fourth period was ASL, American Sign Language. And this was the first time I found out that teacher could talk. Because prior to that, She had never spoken a verbal word in that class. She believed in immersion therapy, so she only signed the entire time we were in her class. But on this day, that went out the window and she talked to us. And I was like, she can talk? Well, shit, why doesn't she just talk to us all the time? But I get it now, but, and before anybody asks, no, I don't really remember that much ASL. I think I remember how to do my names, like J, E, N, I, what is F? Is that F? E, R, I think. Or is that R? I don't know. I think that's R. Yeah, so that's about all that I retained out of that. But, anyway, so, regardless, she talked to us that day, and she was a no bullshit kind of teacher. I actually ended up having her in summer school too, and hadn't realized this was the same lady until she talked, and was like, oh my gosh, now I know who you are. You're the one who did English class over the summer. Okay. Anyway, so, she had the TV on too, but she, in her no bullshit way, which I say in the most loving of ways because she has since passed on, she was basically breaking it down for us and telling us that you're going to remember this day forever. The world is never going to be the same again, which, thank you for panic attack number 2. Yeah, I think by that point, shit, which one happened first? Was it the Pentagon hit or the Pennsylvania field hit? I think it was the Pentagon one. And she was telling us about that. And now my brain was going into, oh shit, they actually are hitting more places on the East Coast. Oh fucking shit. So guess who ended up back in the counselor's office? Again, for a second time, same day, having another panic attack, full blown. Almost threw up that time, it was so bad. He let me use his computer again, so I could check again, and was quieted down again when I had that kind of confirmation, but was just like, oh my god, when will these people stop? Are they gonna just, like, hit every state? Like, there was no calming my brain down at this point. Because I was convinced we were all gonna die, but that was just, yeah, it seems kind of stupid now in hindsight, but in the heat of the moment, we all were freaked that, oh my god, you never know where they're gonna hit next. I mean, if they're down to hitting a freaking open field, yeah, we're probably all gonna die. So, oh my god, so I eventually calmed down from that panic attack and went back. I think I actually did get in there before the class period ended on that one. Oh crap, so I went to my next class. I don't think anything that big happened in that one, but then the 6th period, during English class, that one, I think, that was the one with the Pennsylvania field, and that was where I freaked, given, like I said, who I was dating lived in Pennsylvania. I was like, oh my god, and just like, I lost it right there in the middle of class. There was like no consoling me. I was so convinced she was fucking dead, but no, she was fine, as I told you, because I still talk to her, but, oh my god, dude, just, ooh my god, that was scary as fucking hell. That poor teacher was trying her damnedest to calm me down and just couldn't. I was literally inconsolable, even though they were showing on the news. It was an empty freaking field. But all I heard out of that was Pennsylvania, and I just lost it. Because it's like, oh crap, my worst fear has basically been realized because, again, the part about the field, over my head and the anxiety, I was only hearing key terms out of it. That was all that was registering at that point. But luckily that was the last class period of the day. So naturally, the second I got home, I made a beeline for the freaking computer. Like, instantly. And obviously was fine. But, then I felt stupid. I was like, oh god, and now I have to face these people tomorrow after all of my numerous meltdowns. Cool. But, I was very happy she was fine, but, um, God, I just remember my youngest sister, she was only like 3 at the time, and she was too little to understand any of it, and she knew something bad had happened, but she couldn't understand what. I remember she just wanted to be held, and I think I held her for damn near the rest of the fucking night. And I was perfectly okay with that. It's like, dude, it's basically a living teddy bear. Alright, I'm just gonna, like, cling to her right now. But, yeah, so, somewhere in there, I think is where it came on the news. I don't remember if it was same day or if it was in one of the days after that they shut down all the airlines. That was the eeriest freaking thing. Like, you do not realize how subconsciously your brain picks up on all the airplanes overhead until there suddenly aren't any. That is just... I know, we live not that far from an airport, so we had tons of airplanes all the dang time. So for there to suddenly not be any, ooh, that is just a beyond creepy feeling. And I was starting to think, are we ever gonna have planes again? Is this going to throw us back into the dark ages all because some people decided to be assholes? Just like everything, like every little thing felt so uncertain at that point. And it's not like I was the only one who felt this way. This was kind of a resounding feeling that everyone felt of nobody knows what the fuck is going on, or how things are gonna turn out, or anything else. And it was terrifying. Like I said, for somebody with severe anxiety, this was like absolute nightmare scenario happening. Hold on, I have to hit stop for just a second. Okay, sorry, I thought I had to let my dog in, but I don't know what I heard. She is not outside the door, so okay, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, basically just everything felt super uncertain. We didn't know if one of the sacrifices we had to make as Americans was just gonna be airplanes, or what all was gonna be the thing, since that seemed to be George Bush's big thing at that moment, was that Americans are gonna have to make some sacrifices for safety, which we didn't know what that meant yet, because he wasn't really elaborating on that. Obviously, what ended up coming to fruition wasn't anything that bad, but since they weren't telling us what all that would entail at that point, it sounded scary as shit. But, yeah, basically it just ended up being the thing with the color levels for airline travel, so I mean, that's nothing that bad, but, and the increased security with the searches, but other than that, nothing terrible. But anyway, so, yeah, basically, it just kept unfolding from day to day. There was more going with it, and it just didn't get any less scary as time went on. Usually something bad happens, and yes, it's terrible and scary in the moment and in the upcoming days, but it generally calms back down and life goes back to normal. But it didn't on this one. It didn't go back to normal. It didn't get less scary. Like, a month out, things still were not normal. Which just, again, for someone with really, really severe anxiety, that just was kind of cementing it in my head that things are not okay. The world is not a safe place. But, sorry, allergies. Yeah, it got so bad to where it ended up being the last straw that broke the camel's back in my wanting to switch into home study anyway. But when I was just literally having panic attack after panic attack at school, basically all day long, every day. No, I wasn't using the computer every time. That was just the one day I did that. But just about the uncertainty of the safety of the world anymore. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Is this all gonna lead up to like Armageddon? Are we gonna have like a World War III? Are we like all I could see were potential disaster scenarios, and basically my brain would not hear otherwise, no matter what amount of logical reasoning anybody tried to do with me. There was just no reasoning with that fear. Um, but the worst point came when there was one asshole kid in my English class who thought it would be funny in a very not funny way, and I think if this happened today, they'd probably be arrested for it, but basically, he decided to draw a schematic of a fucking bomb, and had like little written notes about how he was gonna blow up the school, and I was like, oh shit. And I went and got the teacher immediately and said I wanted to see the principal now, and I wanted something done about this kid. And basically they ended up sending me to the counselor. The kid got off scot-free saying it was a joke. I'm sorry, something like that is not a fucking joke, okay? It is not a joke. And I was just like, yeah, I can't be here anymore. I cannot stay in this environment. That was the last straw for me. It was just like, you can either let me transfer or I'm going to drop out of school, which I don't even care if it's illegal. I am not staying here. So they finally gave me my transfer to the alternative study program that I had been trying to get for 3 years at that point anyway, but small mercies come out of tragedy, I suppose. But yeah, so basically, I'd like to say it got better after that, but it didn't. Everything stayed really fucked up for a long time. Those of you who remember the concert for New York, I was like, oh my god, if it's big enough for where this is a thing, that's kind of proof of how big a deal this whole thing really is, and it's not me just uber catastrophizing things, it just is that bad. And there's like no reasoning with it because I'm hearing conflicting stories from all sides. Because I'm hearing one story from the news, because for as much as I do not watch the news, oh, when my anxiety gets involved, you better believe that suddenly I am now suddenly glued to the news, trying to get answers on any front. Obviously, that eventually chilled out, and now I don't watch it again. But at that point, oh yeah, there was several months in there where I was watching it pretty incessantly. And searching online and just was trying to get answers anywhere, and yet the grown-ups were trying to tell me that I was overreacting and it's not that bad and nothing's gonna happen. That was a freak occurrence and da 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 da. Even though everything the news was saying was making it sound like it could happen anytime, anywhere, any place. Da, 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 da. I'm just like, why am I getting such different stories from you that I am from you? Just, I'm pretty sure there has to be a middle ground that's the truth somewhere in the middle, and nobody's giving it to me, and I don't like that. So that probably cemented my distrust in authority figures big time, but it just was such a scary time, and those of you who either weren't born yet or were too young to remember it, I honestly kind of envy you for not being able to remember that shit, because you don't want to be able to remember this. It was not a good time to have lived through. I'm sure there is much worse things in the world to be lived through than that, but this is still a thing we are still talking about this many years later, so it's obviously not entirely put to rest. And truth be told, I found out months down the line, apparently somebody that I did know online actually was in the trade centers and did die. So before you go telling me, well, your friend on the East Coast wasn't even hurt. Yeah, that one wasn't hurt, but somebody else was. So, because I was very, very interconnected with like the entire Beatles community online. And there was one biographer who I had actually been kind of good friends with online who was in the trade centers and died. and it really sucks. And I was kind of inconsolable over that too, so big surprise. And yes, I know, look, you're all probably going to be on my case in the comments about stop making about you. It's like, I'm not trying to make the tragedy about me. The topic of this video is, where were you and how did it affect you when it happened? As individuals. So, we all have our own stories to go with this. They're all going to be different. Just saying. You also have to remember, I was a teenager when this happened. Teenagers are very self-egocentric people. So, that was a thing. And I could not really see outside of that scope of range, and since it was really the first time I had ever been exposed to a tragedy on that sort of monumental level, I did not know what the fuck to make of that. And I would like to say that we've never seen it again, but there have been other tragedies since that have shaken me almost as bad, and it really sucks that we live in a world where this is becoming so much a thing to where sometimes this shit happens and we almost don't even bat an eyelash anymore over it because it happens so often. And it's so fucked. But in an ideal world, that wouldn't exist, but that apparently is not the world we live in anymore, and it really sucks, because it leaves anxious people scared to go anywhere they think might be a potential target, and since it looks like more and more of Europe has been hit over and over and over, I'm over here like, well, that could pose a problem in my ever wanting to go there. Shit. So, how about I rewrite that bucket list a different way that's safer? It's just like, oh my god, the fact that that statement even has to be a thing. Fuck. But yeah, it sucks that there's so many shitty people in the world who do these things at all. I wish there weren't, but again, I'm not the one in charge of the world or what the people in it do, so what can you do? But this all came back to mind when, I think last year, on the anniversary, my sister had to do a project for high school, and since she and her peers were too young to really remember it, their assignment was to interview people who did remember it and find out what their stories were of where they were, and how they felt, and how it affected them in their lives when it all happened. And she asked me as one of her interviewees, and I was gonna make a video last year and then didn't, but yeah, so it is kind of a interesting thing when you realize that there are kids now who are too young to either remember it or who weren't even born yet. It's just like, it was such a big thing at the time to where it seemed like this is a forever unforgettable event. And then you realize that there's going to be kids born later that weren't born when that happened, that they have no way of remembering that. They have no recollection of it because they weren't here yet. So, it's weird to me, but on the same token, I feel like they're kind of lucky for not having to remember that. So, it is what it is. I'm kind of rambling, I know, but I'm trying to think of if I have anything else I'd like to add to it. I think that's about it. Because I really only meant to go into the day itself, and it kind of stretched into the months afterwards, but, yeah, so like I said, in the comments, let me know where you were and how it affected you personally when this all happened and when you heard about it, and how it may or may not have changed anything in you guys' lives if you're old enough to have remembered it. And I know I have a lot of East Coasters who are subscribers, so I'm sure it affected a lot of you guys way more close to home than it did for me as a Californian. So, like I said, let me know in the comments all about this because I actually am kind of fascinated to hear about other people's stories with this. I mean, usually every year on Facebook, everybody posts this sort of thing. Um, but we can do it right here in the comments too. That's cool. So, anyway, I don't really have anything else to add, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up here.